Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Today we have a pretty crazy story to talk about, one that has been going around all of Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, everywhere. And this is about a massive catastrophe, a massive disaster, a master fumbling of the bag by G2, by Carlos. Again, a lot of this stuff is still alleged, so rumors. We'll have to see if this is actually what happened. But at least how things are sounding right now, based off the rumors we're hearing, things are not sounding great. This is mostly about the Valorant side, but this could end up having some long-term effects and impacts on even the League of Legends side as well, or just as G2 as an organization. So I want to start with this. This is Carlos's ex-wife. Apparently they got divorced a couple of months ago. They had been together for a while. I think they have like a kid together too. So somebody that knows Carlos very well. I want to be fair to everyone involved, all sides. So she put out this statement and she said, "Hi everyone. I've read and heard many things that are untrue about the character of Carlos. First of all, I believe the outrage about his partying acquaintances is unjustified. People are coming into conclusions too quickly without knowing the man I know he is. Carlos and I split in friendly terms in the past, and while we both don't know whether we will return as a couple together or not, we remain close and are still family, among other reasons, because we share a beautiful child together. I respect Carlos as the man he is, and I know him quite well. After 8 years together, he has never acted or communicated in a misogynistic way ever before." It's a little bit interesting, especially when Carlos is like liking the Andrew Tate tweet saying that like, oh, Andrew Tate just spits the facts and like, oh, yada yada, stuff like this. Walking a fine line there. You could argue, hey, he is doing some misogynistic stuff right now, or at the very least supporting some misogynistic stuff right now. You could argue otherwise too, but I don't know, just being fair. Every person he has ever come across in business or life, he has done his best to make them feel safe and welcomed, and I'm no different. And once again, this is not necessarily true, because there's absolutely people, and they voice their opinions inside the G2 organization, members, talent, higher ups, who, by him partying with Andrew Tate, saying that they are friends, and saying that he, or liking tweets at least that say he, agrees with some things that Andrew Tate says or does or whatever, that has made people feel unwelcome. Maybe not as far as to say they feel unsafe, but they definitely feel unwelcome. And they're like, hey, maybe I don't want to be on G2 anymore. Maybe I don't want to be around here. So she is speaking from her experience, which obviously has some value, but it doesn't speak for everyone else. And yeah, she knows Carlos, but other people know Carlos too, and other people can react to how they have felt. So I don't know, kind of interesting. She said, "I understand Twitter is up in arms, but this is a good man you're wrongly crucifying." I don't know. So that was a statement she put out. But fast forward to this. I mean, this has all come at the absolute worst time for G2 and for Carlos. He's now on his 8 weeks of unpaid leave or whatever, with Worlds right around the corner, with free agency right around the corner, and with Valorant partnership / franchising slots on the table. And the latest news we have coming out, this is from Nell. He was the first guy who tweeted this out. Apparently he's a CS reporter. I don't know. I'd never heard of him, but he's really big. He's got like 50K followers. I'm assuming he does a good job. So he's got a big following. Valorant, sources told me that G2 is out of franchising NA and EU for next year because of recent controversy. That's crazy in and of itself, but it gets even crazier. G2 had a spot locked in NA, but Riot had an emergency meeting and decided otherwise. Likely Lev, which is like Leviathan, which is a LATAM team, is having the last NA spot. This has also then been confirmed by George Geddes. Recent developments point to G2 being out of contention for any partnership with League next year. I believe Alejandro Gomis then also confirmed it as well. We had Jacob Wolf chiming in on the subject. He said, "I have some serious doubts that the Tate video is what moved the needle for G2 and Valorant franchising. I'm sure Riot isn't happy that a partner is going through such a PR crisis, but from reporting on League franchising, these decisions aren't made that swiftly." And Wooloo, he responds and says, "I don't know if it's because of the video specifically, but the whole scandal is the reason for this change. G2 was in until last Sunday. This is an absolute disaster. This makes everything 10 times worse for Carlos and G2. This has to be G2 and their investors and their partners and their, sponsors and everything's worst nightmare. I mean, G2 was one of the biggest of all locks to get into franchising, whether it was EU or NA. And G2 going to NA was going to unlock them to a new audience, to allow them to become the global brand that Carlos says they are and that they want to be and they want to continue to grow into. Having an S plus tier esport in the LEC over in Europe, and then having another S plus tier esport in North America would have allowed them so much power, so much fan base. They would have really then very easily been able to compete for the top organization in the world for years and years and years to come, and they had it. They secured it. And again, since they were such a lock, I'm going to have to assume that this was being pitched to, sponsors and investors and all this stuff. Like, hey, guys, we're one of the best teams in the world. We're about to get into Valorant franchising. This stuff's a done deal. And now everything is changing. And again, this all is just so silly. No matter which side you're on, whether you love Andrew Tate, hate Andrew Tate, anywhere in between, whether you agree with what he says, doesn't agree with what he says, whatever, what Carlos has done is just an undoubtedly stupid business decision. Andrew Tate is one of the most controversial figures on the internet right now. A guy who is an absolute, brand risk, and a guy who brands and sponsors and investors want nothing to do of, at least right now. He's one of the there's not very many people that are banned on, social media platforms and getting taken down and all this stuff. And he's one of those guys. And again, if Carlos wants to party with him, if Carlos wants to be friends with them, people are going to think that's weird and people are going to be mad about that. And a lot of people aren't going to agree with that, but whatever. Do it in private. Why would you willingly make that public? Again, Carlos is the person that tweeted out the video of them partying together in the first place, which again, people got riled up about. And then Carlos is also the one who responded and took it a step further and said, hey, no, we weren't just partying together. We are friends and I'm going to be friends with whoever I want. And then Carlos is also the one who, while tweeting out a pretty much fake apology, a PR statement apology, was then still liking tweets about how his PR team made him do it and how Andrew Tate's right and how he agrees with what he says. Like, Carlos just made some absolutely stupid decisions. Even if you believe you can be friends with whoever you want, they can't police you, whatever, why would you do it publicly? Why would you do it publicly? It makes absolutely no sense. Either Carlos is so stupid that he does not understand that, and he's such a terrible businessman that he does not understand that, which I don't think Carlos is. I don't think Carlos is stupid. I don't think he's a bad businessman. I don't think he doesn't understand that. I think whatever reason he couldn't put his ego aside and couldn't make this decision to just not make this stuff public. Obviously, a ton of people would prefer he wasn't friends with Andrew Tate in the first place or wasn't partying with him in the first place or whatever, but again, that is his personal life. But by making things public, when you are the face of G2, Carlos is G2 to so many fans, but especially probably to investors and sponsors and all these people, they're getting involved in the Carlos business. Carlos later goes on to tweet, like, hey, G2 is always going to come before Carlos, yada, yada, yada. But in this instance, it absolutely didn't. Carlos literally ends up picking publicly being friends with and defending Andrew Tate over having a Valorant franchise slot, literally costing himself and the people around him potential jobs, potential money, potential sponsors. And again, this isn't even all about Riot just like canceling Carlos or canceling Andrew Tate or whatever. This is also Riot having to make a decision. This is a PR nightmare for Riot right around their franchising, happening. And also Riot and the Valorant teams and franchises and the leagues and the LCS and LEC and all these things, they make money off of sponsorships and advertisements and all of that. And Riot wants to pitch their league to sponsors and investors. And do they want to pitch the guy who is publicly defending Andrew Tate, saying he's friends with Andrew Tate, partying with Andrew Tate at this time? No, they have an incentive to absolutely not want to do that. Also, in a franchising system, all the teams are kind of codependent on each other. Some teams doing well, that's going to lift up the value of everyone. And certain teams doing bad or having PR disasters, PR nightmares, that's going to lower the value of the league and of the slots for everyone. Everyone kind of depends on each other to be doing the right things, to be making good decisions. And Riot has to be careful. Riot has to protect their other 9 teams or their other 30 teams in their ecosystem as well. So by Carlos and G2 doing all this stupid stuff, it does put Riot at risk. It does put the Valorant system at risk. It does put these other teams and their franchise slots at risk. And at the end of the day, no one, no org, no team, no person is bigger than the games or bigger than Riot or bigger than the whole ecosystem. Not G2. And not TSM, they found the same thing out yesterday that, Riot is not going to be playing games. And yes, it is crazy and it's kind of ballsy by Riot to be making these decisions with TSM and with G2, some of their bigger, partners and stuff. But again, like I said, they do need to worry about their brand. And yeah, you can say, hey, Riot's had a misogynistic past and they've done all these things, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, and they absolutely have. And this is such an easy point for Riot to take a stand against that stuff and get brownie points with people like, yeah, hey, we are not going to stand for that anymore. Whatever happened in our past, we changed, we're different, we are moving on. It's just super, super crazy. I mean, this is an absolutely massive decision. Now, yes, there are still ways for G2 to eventually get back into franchising. They can go play, in like the minor league system and get promoted or come into the franchise later on. So this is not the end of the road or anything like that. But Carlos is very guy with a big ego, guy who's very, very prideful, and you have to imagine he's not very happy right now with Riot, with with the Valorant people, with everything that's going on. So it's going to be interesting to see how he responds and reacts to this, how G2 deals with this black eye going forward, and how they deal with this massive, massive bag that they just fumbled. And Carlos and his public actions, costing people potentially millions and millions of dollars. We see that an LEC slot is worth 30, 40, 50 million. I don't know if a Valorant slot's going to be worth that, especially right off the bat, especially with them saying they're going to expand in the future and stuff. I don't know. Who knows? But that's the hope, and that's the potential going forward in the future. And not having a spot, that's going to be pretty bad. And again, it's just a really, really silly way in a silly situation to find yourself on the outside looking in. And yeah, pretty crazy that Riot made this decision so swiftly and so quickly. Again, whatever you think about anything that's going on, I know people are saying, oh, I'm a G2 fan now, or oh, W Carlos or whatever. Like, you've also seen them lose just as many, if not more, fans, and now lose a Valorant spot as well. And who knows what's going to happen in terms of brands, partnerships, investors, all that kind of stuff. I know that Atriok put out a video saying that he knows a lot of the higher ups at G2, especially a lot of the new higher ups at G2, are like very like for equality and very for anti-gender discrimination and a lot of these things. And it sounds like it's at least possible that there are some people in Riot and in G2 that are pretty disgusted with Carlos's recent behavior. That's very rumor and very speculative. That's not confirmed or factual or anything like that. But that's at least what some other people are saying. So I don't know. This story is nowhere near over. It's going to be very, very interesting to see, 8 weeks from now when Carlos does come back, when he ever speaks on this publicly, how this thing's going to go. But this is really, denying TSM and G2 is really an interesting step into the future for Riot and how they're going to go about doing things. And it definitely sets a very, very interesting precedent going forward. But yeah, I don't know. Pretty much over the video today, guys. Carlos and G2 really seemingly fumbled the bag. They were in, by all accounts and in all intents and purposes, into the NA Valorant franchising system. But it now seems like they have found themselves on the outside looking in. I don't know. Definitely drop a like if you guys did enjoy this video. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about anything we talked about in this video today. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.